All right, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I am Tolulope Benro. I am your guest for today. And thank you very much, Minister, for reaching out. I can see my coach. Hi, Coach Destiny. So, funny story. I went through Immerse Inner Circle twice, two different circles, two different cohorts. And around one of the time when I went there, Coach Destiny was my coach. So, it's beautiful to see you here. Thank you for joining, Coach. I actually don't even remember meeting Queen Esther. But the funny thing is, I remember the event you're speaking about, and that happened in, I think, 2018. Yes, that happened in 2018. And fun fact, I was in 100 level. So I didn't know anybody. It was after the event I eventually knew James Onaji, what's his brother's name? Joshua Onaji, Usman Waziri, Olumide from BUK. Who else? Anyway, the whole OBU drama and when Covenant University when I had to speak to them. So I'm going to share my screen. Said there was an error with screen sharing. But please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my PPT now? Oh, okay, let me try and do that again. How about now? Can you see my PPT? All right, great. So we're about to start. And I think I actually remember meeting Queen Esther on LinkedIn. She used to talk about tech a lot, and I felt that was inspiring. Then after a while, she became more active on Twitter, and then she started talking more about like the done and dusted community, and she started traveling a lot and spending more time in PH. And I was like, cool. And then earlier this year, I saw she had finished serving, and I was like, yay, beautiful. I mean, I was happy she was done with service, but I was more excited by the things she accomplished during service. And I was like, okay, when I decide to restart the Honey in Your Service Year community, I should definitely do like a collaboration with her. So I'm happy that she reached out. And I know she didn't tell you, but it was not easy planning this meeting because our schedules were not favorable. That's why we're having it at this particular point in time. But I'm happy that eventually we can make this happen and we get to do this. My prayer, my goal, my aspiration for today's meeting is that you learn from it, you take things that are important, you're open-minded to see things that you were not expecting, because it's okay to come to a webinar or a meeting with an expectation, and sometimes the expectation can cloud your judgment. So you're just looking out for something, you're just searching for something, and then other things that jump out at you, you don't necessarily gain from them. But I hope everybody gains exciting insights from this meeting. And when I was preparing for the meeting, I think part of the things I know would happen during this meeting is that there would be some sort of clarity, especially during the question and answer session. So I'm just going to run through the slides as fast and as concise as I can, and we will jump into that session. So today I'm going to be speaking about NYSC for global relevance. I am Tolu. I am a human being. I like to start my introduction that way because it helps to, bring down barrier. I'm a human being. I am a social impact consultant. I've been doing that for 7 years. I served in Kwara State Ilorin, and you would hear more about my story as we go on. So let's look at our agenda. So we're going to start by looking at honing your service here. I've divided today's presentation into 3 parts. sort of something similar that I had in mind. Well, I asked Queen Esther if there were specific things she wanted me to touch on, and she wanted me to talk about, maximizing NYSC, using NYSC to apply for opportunities and to share my story. Not exactly in the order she gave, but I will definitely touch on these three areas and these three aspects. And please, I will need someone to help me keep an eye in the comment section because at some point it's going to get interactive. Okay. So let's start about Horn in NYSC. So I'm going to talk a little about the Horn NYSC movement and why I like the word Horn. So in 2021, I was mobilized for service. That was November 2021. I graduated from school October 2021. So it was barely a month difference between my graduation and my mobilization for service. And by around, I think, August, anyway, third quarter of 2022, I had this instruction to start an NYSC community. And it didn't make sense to me because I was still in service. I was about 2 to 3 months to wrap up my own service. So why should I teach people about a process that I am currently going through? But the burden to start the community grew stronger. So I started it off as a Telegram community. And over the next 3 to 6 months, we had over 200, we're a 200 strong community. We had a couple of webinars, shared tips, shared insights, and over time I have gotten more insight into what that movement would be. For me, when I was preparing for service, I always knew that 1 year gap was important. I wanted to make the most out of it. And I didn't exactly have a role model of someone that had maximized or honed service year in the way I wanted to do it. I wanted to make the most of the opportunity regardless of where I was posted. So whether I was posted in the rural community or was posted in an urban community, I was going to milk every single opportunity that NYSC brought without leaving any stone unturned. And that was not an easy decision. I would say part of the things that encouraged me along my journey was, I would say, Eagles in Khaki. So my school, when you graduate from Covenant University, you're called an Eagle. And then we have this book by the alumni community. It's called Eagles in Khaki. And I read it, and it basically gave me an entire insight into the 4 cardinal points of NYSC, what to do when I get to a community, how to find like fellow believers because I'm a Christian, how to run a personal CDS. It was just really insightful. And I remember in my final year, there was this news about this girl that built a borehole in a community, and the locals gave her, I think, 100 tubers of yams the day she was leaving. And my God, that was like a very big inspiration for me. And then when I was posted to Quora, I started doing little research, and I found Rosalind's story. Rosalind was here last week. How she did her personal CDS and what she did. Those things inspired me, but I wanted to do more with my life and with the 1 year, aside from actually doing a personal CDS and making impact. So that was basically my quest and my journey for the entire Horn NYSC movement. So I'm going to go into this before we move on. So I'm going to ask you a question, and this is where I need Queen Esther to please help me check the comment section. How many years do you think your university degree is valid for? How many years? Queen Esther, please let me know what the answers are in the comment section so I don't have to stop sharing. Share again. So, yeah. Okay, we'll keep waiting until we share. Yeah, how many years do you think a BSc is worth in Nigeria? How many years do you think a BSc is valid for? Okay, that's a nice one. I mean, you must really rate your BSc high. I'm inspired. Any other person? Okay, because of time, at least we have one answer. So this is the answer to that question. BSc is valid for 2 years. The first year is NYSC. So your BSc is supposed to help you get a PPA. or help you get into NYSC, because without a BSc you can't get into NYSC. And your BSc is supposed to help you get your first job. After that, your BSc is almost irrelevant. The value keeps reducing by the year. If it becomes relevant, or if it's relevant after 2 years, it's just to show that you have basic education. But apart from the fact that it helps you it opens a door for you, it doesn't really hold value. The next questions that come are basically, what are your experiences, what have you done? So when people begin to perambulate around life for the first 2 years, there's always a problem, right? Or when people begin to like take gap years, realize it becomes difficult. And even if you look at recruitment and graduate trainees these days, you see that there's an age limit. Anyway, there's a way to go around the age limit, but you see that there's an age limit. And even though there's a technology to go around the age limit, it's not the easiest. So if you're a fresh graduate, if you're currently serving, if you're preparing to serve, then you definitely want to make the most of your degree before it expires, or before the value of your degree drops. All right, so we're going to go on next to Horn NYSC. And the things I'm going to share in this particular section were taken out of this video, how to stand out during your service year. So it's a video on my YouTube channel. I'm sure this is the one Queen Esther watched. This section is divided into three. So we have pre, during, and post. I mean, I always like to do that because I think it's like the easiest way to communicate everything NYSC related. So pre-NYSC, the first thing I like to say is heal from identity crisis. A lot of people go about with identity crisis, and if you're looking for a coach, I didn't even know Coach Destiny was going to be here, but I was going to tell you, please run to Immense Inner Circle and pay money for value. Heal from identity crisis and heal from, I would say, any form of mental trauma. So in my school, past questions were a very big deal, and something that was difficult for me to come by in school was definitely past questions too. So by the time I finished or graduated from school and I got home back to my family in Rivers State, for 5 consecutive nights, I had different dreams, but it was the same storyline. In all the dreams, I would sleep, there would be a past question, there would be an exam, I would beg my classmates for past question. They were literally holding this thing in my hand like this, and then when I stretched my hand to collect it, they would pull it away and I would wake up. It was trauma. So going and preparing for camp, my entire goal was basically to clear my head mentally, to just heal and be a sane human being before I proceeded on my NYSC journey. And so many people don't even realize, there's an entire buzz of what's next, what are you going to do? There's a competition of who is going to be the most successful. We often don't like to talk about this one a bit, but there's the who will marry first, who will die first, who will be a failure first. There's always it's just crisis. It's literally crisis. So know who you are, be self-aware, understand yourself as a person, grow in terms of emotional intelligence. That's like the first thing I always say to any graduate, whether you are going for NYSC or not. Clear your head before you go. The next thing is define the journey. So what do you want NYSC to be for you? I would always say that NYSC is different things to many people. For one person, NYSC is that ticket to finding their spouse. For some other people, NYSC is that ticket to becoming a national honoree. For another person, NYSC is that ticket to explore the world. For another person, NYSC is that ticket to be free from their family. For that person, NYSC is 1 year that is wasted and they have determined with the whole of their being to waste. So you have to define your journey, because if you don't define your journey, then it would literally be anything. And of course, carry God on your journey. I can't share my NYSC story without mentioning the importance of carrying God and having God in your journey. But by the time you go through the video, you will have more intense breakdown on these tips that I have shared. So let's go to during NYSC. For during NYSC, we are looking at orientation camp. You have to be so intentional. So there's another program we do in my school that is important. It's called TTG, towards total graduate. After exams, after sign out, we have a sort of compulsory retreat for final year students. It's very intense. You know when you start, when you end. You write an exam on it. It's a 0-unit course. If you fail that exam, you cannot graduate from school. Yes, it's called towards total graduate. And part of things we learn there, we learn marriage, family life, prayers, different kind of prayers, CV writing, those kind of things. We also learn about NYSC. And during my time, the lecturer in charge of that invited a core member to come and share, even though he joined remotely, like video conferencing, to share with us about NYSC. And within that period, Bishop Oyedepo, who is the chancellor of the school, also came a lot to speak to us. So for me, going into orientation camp, I knew I wanted to read. My parents gave me stipend, but I bought books. When I tell you I bought books, I'm not just saying I bought books. I read books. If I read the way I read during NYSC, during my BSc, I would have finished with a first class. I'm not even kidding you. I don't know where the hunger came from. I was buying books. I was reading books. In orientation camp alone, I finished 3 books. 3 books. I started 3 books and I finished 3 books. So this is very important because if you know what you want, it would help you to shape your experience. There are people that are amazing and you will meet them in camp, but they're not going to remain in that state. So you have to be able to secure that relationship and build those relationships among the thousands of people that would be in camp within the 3 weeks, right? The people that would most likely maybe be in your PPA or your CDS or what's it called, your local government, people that would stay back. You want to have those relationships. You want to have a wide network of relationship. This will do you good. By the time I go into story, you would begin to see why this is very important and why it has to be strategic and why God has to even be involved, right? Next has to be getting a PPA. I always used to say there are many ways to getting a PPA. Whether you apply to a PPA before they get to you, you allow the PPA to come by itself, you get rejected, and then different processes. But you also need to think, where do I want to work? Do I want to leave this thing for this thing to happen? Do I want to work in a school? Do I want to work here? Among the agencies, companies, occupation, professions that are available for me to be posted to as a primary place of assignment, which one do I actually want to work in and which one do I not want to work in and how do I want to go about that? So these are some conversations that you need to have. I will still talk more about that. Housing is also very important. As basic as housing sounds, housing plays a key part in the success of your NYSC. For NYSC, I rented an entire house. I had the winners family community. They were amazing. God bless them, wherever all of them are. They were amazing. They were family. They were accommodating. They were literally one body. That was literally what they were. But I didn't stay there because I knew what I wanted. And I knew that because those things had not come, by the time those things would eventually come, this environment would not be able to accommodate the level of what I wanted to carry. So I needed to get a place, I needed to get a table, I needed to get a chair, I needed to buy myself a small fan. I had to make those decisions. It was a must. A table and chair had to be in my house. And after service year, I shipped it to my parents' place. So you need to have conversations about housing. There are different ways. Whether you want to take the house that the PPA offers you if they offer you a place, whether you want to cohabit with someone, whether you want to get a family house, or whether you actually want to spend money to get your own place. And community development service is big. So when we go into my story, you would actually begin to see how being diligent and just showing up for CDS in itself played a very significant role in my story. I mean ending of NYSC, post NYSC, and even some of the things I'm doing now and some of the places I am in now, right? So it's important that you take every part seriously. Be diligent in anything. One thing I knew, but NYSC enforced for me is that you can sell anything. You can get paid for anything. You can get paid to tell a lie. You can get paid to be a honest person. You can get paid to be a thief. You can get paid to be a murderer. The reason why you're not getting paid to do anything that you want to do is because there is a gap between you and the person that needs your services. The person that wants to pay you to be a honest person doesn't know that they can find you. Right? So these things are very important and they are real in themselves. Post NYSC, happy job hunting, because of course after NYSC there's job hunting to secure like the first major full-time role post NYSC. Also, if you're looking for like a graduate opportunity, then this is the time you want to step into it, not apply for it, right? You start applying for these things while you are in the NYSC period. So basically, during NYSC is a time to prepare for post NYSC. Pre NYSC is preparing for NYSC. During pre-NYSC, you prepare for during. During, a number of things happen, and then during, you prepare for post. I like to say that NYSC is a normal period. It's just you living your life, apart from you having to go for weekly CDS, apart from you having to go for monthly clearance. It is still your life. It's just that you're government property, you're wearing that uniform, you're earning 33K, and there's a difference between a copper and a graduate. Graduates get paid some sort of money that is commensurate to the worth of their degree or what they have studied. Coppers get paid whatever coppers get paid. Coppers and graduates are two different things. Coppers are usually lower than graduates in the ranking. That's why you hear after NYSC, my company decided to retain me, and instead of paying me 30K, they started paying me 300K because they eventually begin to rate you. So if it was not important, they would have been paying you 300K. That 1 year is a lot, right? Okay, I've said a lot. So we are here. So what stood out for you? What point stood out for you? I'll wait for 2 points before we move to the next thing. What point stood out for you? So comment section. I know. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. Yeah, it also shook me too. I mean, the moment I realized in school, I was like, what? I know. All right. Yeah, we can take one more person if we have. Okay, so let's move on. We've spent 23 minutes and there's a whole lot to cover. Okay, so we're talking about using NYS to apply. There's someone. Thank you. Thank you. There are some things you learn in life that you don't learn in school. So fun fact, I used to be a very impatient person. But by the time you get to my story, you will see how my PPA changed my life and how it's even reflecting in this presentation and the way I'm communicating things to you. So I'll wait because after this one reflection, we are into the story where we can sleep today. Then we can go to question and answer. So using NYSC to apply for opportunities, I used to say something during Holt Prize that almost caused an argument, within the Hot Price City community in Nigeria some years back, that there are readily way more opportunities now than there were before. So it means if you get a rejection, cry. If you can afford Cold Stone, buy Cold Stone. You can't afford Cold Stone, get your favorite craving, your favorite sugary snack, and move on. And to get to a point, I realized that you don't have to take Cold Stone and pizza or shawarma for every, or even puff puff. For every single rejection that you get, you just cry, you just say it's just one of those things. You create a structure around it and on to the next, right? Eventually, some things would come, some things would come, but eventually you would learn and you would be a better person for yourself and for the experiences that are to come. So using NYSC to apply for opportunities. One thing I like to say is that, or I would say, is that a program can be prestigious if you make it to be prestigious, and a program can have very little value if you make it to have very little value. So what do I mean by that? Ideally, the fact that you're a core member, you're the government's property, you are the child of the government, is a thing of prestige. But because of the way people have slandered NYSC, it has closed doors for many people. So if you decide to use that cap, that opportunity, then it would work for you. That's basically the summary of using NYSC to apply for opportunities. I think a very common opportunity that most core members often utilize or often do not even utilize is postgraduate opportunities. So things like fully funded scholarships, Things like having to write IELTS, TOEFL, or even getting a waiver for fees and so many other things. This is definitely one area. So you want to ask yourself, what do you want to do next? I will always say one of my favorite quotes by myself: ignorance is an excuse until it is no longer valid to be an excuse. It's okay not to know. Nobody is killing you. Nobody is criticizing you. We love you. We care for you. But it becomes dangerous when you should know. So there isn't a time frame to see. It's just dangerous when at a particular point you should know that you don't know. It's okay for a child not to know that fire burns. But it becomes dangerous when a child decides to put their hand inside fire. I don't know, it's given African proverb. But you get the point. So if you want to further your education, you want to start preparing during NYSC so that you don't waste time. If you start preparing during NYSC and village people even decide to shook hand or shake yash small, it's still easy to pray and find yourself on track in time. But with the way university degrees are declining in value, and let's even be honest, it's actually very hard for an average copper to get a good job. One, because of age; two, because of clear lack in competencies. By the time ASU's you and you're going to service, you're usually 29, 30. Some people are even above 30, but they are lying so that they can make that 33K. We know these things. You swore affidavit. So by the time you do that one and you come out, you're just thinking of how you want to continue selling your gyms, your gyms, your gyms. You want to be sharing your wig, your wig, your wig. And that's when you say, oh, apply for one thing. You don't want to apply for anything because the thing you applied for, school has failed you and you don't see why it should work. And by the time you start applying for other things and you see the age, the psychology behind the thinking, and the clear lack of skill gap makes people incompetent and unable to get into these roles or into these roles. So start early. The next one I would say in regards to using NYSC to apply for opportunities is awards. A very common thing to get in service here is award. So many people just do anyhow project just so that they can be a national honorary. I feel like NYS is the easiest time to be a national honorary, regardless of who the president is. You just do something small, target a personal CDS, fill out the form, submit everything, and you're a national honorary. I mean, it's not always the easiest. I know someone that did a project and the LGI was trying to sleep with the person. So the person just did it as a normal project and didn't get that. But awards are also a good thing. And then the next one is grants. But the mistake most people make with grants is they don't understand grant cycle. They come as individuals. They lack clear experience and there's absolutely no collaboration. Nobody's going to trust money into your hand if they don't see what you have done. And for you to even get money, you need to have a history. So you need to be able to create a history to keep getting money. So it's like a mathematics or a psychology that is not given. It is not the easiest to quite easily derive. You get it? So that's one area. The second area is that a lot of people don't understand that organizations run with budgets because so many people live their life lawlessly, without planning, without structure. We like to laugh and say that structure doesn't work in Nigeria or Africa. I don't know who told us that life from the pit of hell, but we accepted it that if it is structural, it cannot work. But we'll shout that the government doesn't have structure. It's okay, let me not shout too much. Organizations have structure. There's a financial budget. So if you're sending your proposal after the financial budget has been done, you most likely won't get an answer. Except, of course, maybe you know somebody or you see, what's it called? Specific NYSC grants for core members or of course collaboration. I feel like a lot of people miss out on opportunities because they don't understand collaboration, and even when they want to collaborate, they collaborate the wrong way. So people collaborate with somebody that is successful because they just want the greatness attached to them so that they can end up winning an award. But you're not collaborating because two of you are bringing something equal, something reasonable to the table. So I feel like collaboration has to be redefined when it comes to that topic. So these are just some few ways that you can use NYSC to apply for opportunities. So we have reflection. So I'll just take one so that we can move to the last section. What stood out for you with regarding using NYSC to apply for opportunities or opportunities you can apply for within service here? Okay, thank you very much, Grenesta. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. And Favor, I would answer your question partly in the story and then partly during Q&A. So let's run into my story. So for me, this is a very emotional and intentional moment for me because for one, I was someone that was intentional about service here. And I feel every area and every aspect of that 1 year and even beyond touched on these various aspects. First, after graduation, I had to leave school, and after leaving school, I was called to travel back to pick my certificates. The day I collected my certificate was the day I saw my call up letter. When I opened my call up letter, I saw Kwara State. Before I saw the state I was posted to, I was really indifferent. I just told God wherever I was posted to, I was going to go there. And then I said the same thing to family. During NYSC, normally people would, or prospective core members would be looking for people to help them redeploy. My case was different. I had people say, I want to work it for you. And then I was telling them, I'm fine. There was a mentor that was angry with me because this mentor wanted me to come to Lagos. And if I went to Lagos, I wouldn't have been a failure. My career would still have been successful. But I won't be sitting here telling you the story because it would have been a totally different experience. So when I saw Kwara, I smiled because I wanted to be posted. I wanted to serve in the north. I wanted somewhere in the north. Kwara was still not central. It was far away from home. I had never been there before, and I was ready. My family didn't even know anybody living there, no auntie, no uncle. So it was just what it was. The day I was going to travel, the day before, my mom went to a park in Port Harcourt to find out, where I could get a vehicle. The next morning, I packed my box. I love comfort. So I traveled with a heavy, big box and I traveled with my buckets. I prioritize comfort. I do. I don't like stress. Anyway, when I got to the park, or before I got to the park, I wore an Enactus shirt. The shirt was branded Enactus Covenant University because I was looking for community. I knew one way or another I was going to find an Enactus member. I knew eventually I was going to find a Holt Price member. I knew eventually I was going to find my Covenant University community. So once I came down from the car and I was bringing my boxes down, there was this handsome, um, handsome buff guy by the counter. And he's like, "You're from Covenant University?" And I said, "Yes." And I was happy. I don't even know. I was so happy. I felt comfortable. That moment, it felt like home. And I was in the first bus, he was in the second bus. There was some delay. The ride was about over 16 hours long. I arrived at the gate of Yipata camp in Kwara State by 11:56. I came down from the vehicle by exactly 11:59 and I called my mom. And I brought out my box and they searched my box. They asked me if I had scissors. I had scissors, but I said no. And then as soon as I went in, I carried the scissors and I put it in between the zip under. You get it? I was just happy. The next day, I did screening, I did clearance. And then I found there was a Telegram group for people coming from Covenant University. We were almost 20 on the group. Some people redeployed. Eventually, I found about 18 of us. I found some when they were taking platoon numbers. They were in different platoon. I felt at home. I felt at peace. I was sick, so I had like an IV on my hand and then it got infected and stuff. But apart from that pain, I was fine. I was in platoon 7 and I was just reading my book, doing my thing. One day during Said, I made a contribution. And when I made a contribution, someone sent me a message and he's like, "Tolubere, you're in my camp." And I'm like, "Who's that person?" Because it wasn't a CU student. And after I realized it was a friend from Holt Price. So fun fact, during the Holt Price program, the campus director from Ilorin told us that one of his organizing team members lost his mom. So we should reach out to the person that was bereaved and send condolence messages. So the person that was shouting my name was that guy. So I was like, another family. I was so happy. Like, I literally had people everywhere. Anyway, fun fact, the guy I met at the bus station that traveled from River State, almost 3 months into serving, That's 3 months after orientation camp. One day after CDS, we were eating in his house because he used to eat rice, and there's one sapa stew. We used to create it palm oil and pepper. And that gino pepper and onion. Very nice. And then we would just so I just gisted, and then I realized that we actually went to the same primary school. Fun fact, I served with my nursery 3 classmates and we met in Kwara State. At every step of the way, it felt like there were people, like God intentionally put people for me. Even hanging with Covenant University guys in Mami, and sometimes intentionally annoying people, keeping 2 to 3 rows of bench seats for the 16 to 18 of us with our babes and boo to sit down and gist. It was just beautiful. I played. Okay, now to the picture part. Of course, community, 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 community. So first picture, some of us from Covenant University. There are more pictures, but for the sake of time. Next picture is my platoon. I tried to play volleyball. I used to play well when I'm doing training, but during the competition, I don't used to play well. So I never really touched the ball during the competition. They always used to sub me in. I did man o' war. I was active. This picture, the two rope, is my fave. I feel like it's so easy. You literally just have to slide and glide in the middle of your leg and move your hand. I feel like I'm ready to fight Boko Haram. I love it. This picture in the middle is OBS. I joined OBS. It was a struggle, but eventually I got in because I didn't come in on the first day. So my resumption day on camp was like third day, not first day, and I came on third day. Then this is obviously me and my friend. We are doing 007, still from Covenant University. Anyway, eventually, about all of them redeployed to different places, majorly Lagos. Only 4 of us were left. So me, my secondary school classmates, that's the bell ringer that I met in Port Harcourt, my nursery school classmates, and one person that I literally just met at Covenant University. The fun fact is, the nursery school classmates, primary school bell ringer rather, they all went to see you. So it's like, how did I not meet these people in Covenant University? And how did God just keep them until this particular stage of my life? So I'm going to speak a little to something. Before I went to camp and I realized I was posted to Kwara, there was a guy I knew. I applied for a competition, this UN Youth for Climate, and I didn't get selected. And I spent almost a month, or at least minimum 2 weeks, writing my essays. So when I found out the person that was selected, I went to check their profile. What's different about them? What have they probably done differently that I didn't do, which is something I always do. And around that time, I found out he was from Uni Ilorin. And in my head, I was like, how is a Uni Ilorin graduate beating me in an application? Do you understand that kind of thing? So when I found out I was coming to Kwara, I sent him a message. And I was like, I got posted to Kwara State. Where can I work as a PPA? And then he asked me what I wanted to do. So I told him I wanted to work in the NGO space. And he told me the name of an organization and told me that's the best NGO in Kwara State. So I sent the NGO a cold email that I wanted to is it volunteer or come as a copper? I don't even remember what I said. But anyway, they told me they were not taking me. So after camp, I ended up getting posted to NTA Ilorin. NTA was beside ShopRite. I was happy. But when I got there, they were like, you cannot speak Yoruba. When I saw the person that was supposed to be my boss, and the way the person answered me, people that were not even my boss were nicer to me. I was like, I'm not going to start office politics I cannot finish. They say, what's your degree? Industrial physics, applied geophysics. Should we redeploy? I don't know. Should we reject you? Yes, they rejected me. They were begging me that I should not be annoyed they will reject me. So they rejected me. I went back to LGI, spoke to my LGI. And she's like, and schools are looking for teachers. She asked me if I wanted to teach. I said yes, because I really wanted to teach. I got posted to a school, and that PPA changed my life. I earned 5K to teach mathematics, physics, and further mathematics to SS1, 2, 3 students. You can imagine. And I still did every other thing I did during service here. So, I mean, you're not going to suffer as much as I did. I can tell you that one for free. So my PPA, I was able to balance it. Eventually, this NGO reached out that they were recruiting for a program. The program is called Space for Her. And it was about the female participation in politics in Kwara State. It was a fellowship. I didn't want to apply. Anyway, the last day of the application, I was not busy that day. So I remembered, I felt like God wanted me to apply. I remembered I submitted my application. The day of the onboarding, I did not even come. I did not have NEPA in my house. My phone was dead. Few days after, they wanted someone that had been like they needed a female that was based in Kwara State, a particular region of Ilorin. So I sent him my CV, and the guy said, "You are the project manager for the project." And I'm like, "You don't know me from nowhere. I asked to be a volunteer. You told me you can't take me as a volunteer, but you want me to be a project manager. How?" It was not making sense. It's like, your CV is fine. Like, we know you can do it. And few Saturdays later, I had my first on-air feature with Diamond FM in Ilorin. It went so well that other radio stations, other political shows were reaching out for me to talk about female participation in politics. I did the press conference. Myself, I was shocked. The man had to come and meet me, the owner of the NGO, and say, "Is it your first time speaking on air?" I say, "Yes." He said, "Are you sure?" I say, "Yes." I said, "Because you did very good." And from there, I was just one thing to another. I was like Tolu, the star girl of the NGO, right? And in my CDS, I was active. So let me just scroll through the picture. This is the last CDS event we did. We went to a school for disabled children, majorly those with like Down syndrome, and we went to play with them, went to talk to the teachers. This one was the placard I made. So I made 18 placards, 17 SDG and this SDG, because I wanted to do CDS, but the CDS I wanted to do, and then the CDS that God wanted me to do, they were different. So I did not do my personal CDS again. This one here is with Quara NGO. So fun fact, I met Mr. Kendi in CDS. The only thing I worked in my service here, I didn't work my PPE. The only thing I worked in my service here was my CDS. I made sure I was in SDG. I was in service com. I said I cannot run that service. I'm not nice. I'm very impatient. I cannot be a customer. I cannot be telling MTN people. I said never. The day they posted me to that service com, I sat in my LGA's office after praying outside. That day, she was just shouting at com members and giving them query. If you say LGI Ilorin South, everybody knows her. Anyway, I walked into her office, I prostrated, I greeted her, "Mommy, this one." Say, "Oh, they've given me." I said, "Yes, they posted me to a school. The school has accepted me, you know." So I said that she should please post me to SDG, not service com. I said, "If you post me to SDG, the things I will do in that SDG, the personal CDS I will do." So after so much pity, she posted me to SDG CDS. And the thing about CDS is people would always come to talk to you. I missed CDS only once in my entire service year. One. Don't run away. Don't be a truant. You don't know where your blessing is coming from. That's why I'm sharing this story. This particular day, Mr. Kendi came. He spoke to us about Susty Vibe. Jennifer is an alumnus of Covenant University. I have never met her, but I admire the work she was doing with her organization. So after I went to meet Mr. Kendi, greeted him, nice speech, exchange contacts. "Happy New Month, how are you doing, sir?" Of course, he was seeing what I was doing. And he started working with the SSA to the Kwara State governor on non-governmental affairs. So one day, the SSA had, it was International Day of the Girl Child 2022. The SSA had two events that were clashing, and she needed someone to represent her, give a speech at another event. And she wanted someone different from all the people she knew, because she wanted like a higher quality. So she told Mr. Kendi, and Mr. Kendi thought, and after a while, he's like, "There's this copper I just met." And Mr. Kendi texted me and said, "Can you come on so and so to so and so hotel?" I think it was a public holiday. I said yes. I came, I met with the SSA, we spoke, she showed me the speech, this one wrote, that one wrote. Eventually, we drafted something, we agreed, and I traveled to Offa to give the speech while she presented the speech at Ilorin. She saw the video, she loved it, and that's how I started working with the SSA, non-governmental affairs in Kwara State. Fun fact, in the current administration, she's the Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture. So that's why I say, like, people will pay for anything, but you don't know who is looking for you. The story is still long anyway. Yeah, so I still did a couple of things with the organization in terms of climate action, election project. They even helped me to get like a project with Tubaba Foundation and so many other things. Next thing I would say, of course, attend conferences. I went for chevening events. That's the last picture here, and then I met a couple of people. So it's cool to connect with people I didn't even know they were following my work. It's always good to meet people. Community is important. And then starting 2023, after service had ended in 2022, I came back to Quara and I had like post COP events where I spoke about what happened at COP 27 in Quara. This year I did the same for COP 28, but that was in Abuja. I still had many more projects that I did. I had this Global Goals Week with Diamond FM and some other young advocates. The NYSC sanitation day, I went with my sanitation people. I carried dustbin, and of course, I did my photo ops. Royal FM, I was invited to speak on something. So fun fact again, my boss was invited by Kayode Alabi Leadership Foundation in Kwara State to speak on something, but he was not in the country at the time. So he invited me to go and represent. It was education related. So when I got there, the I don't know the exact term, but the representative for Kwara State for the organization was not happy because he felt like he had been, inviting my boss and my boss was not coming. And then he was treating me like, what's this girl going to say? I mean, I had done my research, I had prayed, I knew what to prepare for. So when I finished speaking, he's like, give me your number. So when Kayode leader, this was in 2022, when the organization needed to do a round table on education in 2023, he sent me a personal invite. He didn't send, do you understand? Like, I wasn't going at somebody representing somebody, I was going at someone that had a seat at the table. So that was like a very big thing for me. This Educate Women Save the Nation was a gender-based violence project I did in Kwara State with Rising Child Foundation. I had to go to like the Human Rights Center. And fun fact, I also met somebody that knew me. Like, it's always funny because I think one thing I learned from DDK, people are always watching. And the people that you matter to the most, especially like the older generation, they don't come and meet you and tell you you are doing well. They watch you for a long time to see how long you will last, to see how your behavior will change. The last picture down is me representing the SSA at the of our school. Of course, I showed up for Susty Vibes event when they had clean up. I did a what's it called Vote Now campaign where we went to the market. That's the one down, and we're telling people to get their PVCs, that their vote matters. Okay, this the one in the middle is me on what's it called my POP day. It's Opus, my friend, primary school bell ringer. This is picture from the press conference with what's it called space for the space for her projects. Okay, more pictures. So this one here was post NYSC. I did something with the Global Shapers. Yeah, Ilorin Global Shapers Hub had an event on safe space for her. It was basically about menstrual hygiene, leadership, and I was invited to talk to secondary school children and encourage them about that. So there's a short video of me giving them affirmations to repeat on Instagram and whatnot. So this one in the middle is very dear to my heart. This is nursery 3 classmate, me, primary school classmate. Then this one, of course, I was active in my church. Fun fact, in school, I was in technical team. I never sang or sung. I didn't even know if I could sing. But during NYS, I felt like I was led more to the chorister side. So I decided to serve because it felt like I was running away. It's like somebody wants meat pie, but you're buying them milk. You're not solving their problem, but you're sure giving them something. So I eventually went to do what I felt my heart was leading me to do, which was to go and sing. This first picture down is me at the Days event in 2023 on education. We had a couple of political stakeholders, so it was really insightful discussion. The next one is the Nigeria Youth SDG Roundtable on climate change. I got invited, or I registered and I went anyway. The NGO community in Ilorin, it's pretty small. That's what I would say. But you need to know who is who and what is what. There are many communities, there are many organizations, but the main communities are small. So you would still see maybe the same 5, 10 major faces, key faces at events. This is from Safe Space. So you can see how this relationship with Mr. Kende grew, right? From just meeting a random person at my CDS to getting recommended to do something for the SSA to meeting him again at Kayode Alabi something to meeting him at Global Shapers because he's a key member of that. He was the curator of Global Shapers Hub. He went for the convention in Geneva then. So it's always funny to look at someone and say, oh, they're just coming to market something and not pay attention. Honor has a way of opening doors for you and taking you to places. So I will end on this note before I take questions so that I can address specific points. 1 year changed my life, and 1 year can change your life too if you avoid it. In summary, what I would say is this to make the most out of NYSC. If your PPA is not in your field of study, or if your PPA is not in line with your purpose or what you want to do, find something that is in line with that. Make time for it and be excellent at it. From working with the SSA, I planned a couple of events. I got to travel to Abuja for World Water Summit. That was when I got to Abuja for World Water Summit, and then I saw the Enactors Ahmadu Bello University team presenting their shoe polish to the minister then, and I was so happy. I mean, I didn't even know they're there. My job was to come and handle souvenirs. Yeah. The funny Yeah. The funny thing is my job on that treat was to count souvenirs. Like, I know you're good with numbers. If you count it and tell me it is 10, I know it is 10. My God. The level of trust. And no, I did not pay for my ticket. It was paid for. And then a number of other things that we still went on to do. And that relationship is still there, visiting the king of Ijarai, seeing, talking about other different foundations and their works, and having to come in as consultants to manage some certain things. It's just been a ripple effect. So if you have a purpose, a calling, something you really want to do, something you really want to focus on, maybe your stuff is in engineering and at the moment there's no engineering firm in the place you have been posted to, in the state you have been posted to, find something that is close to it and volunteer there because you need to grow, right? You may have graduated 3 years ago, but your work experience can be 7 years. It is possible, it is allowed, it is valid. So that's like my key takeaway, my key summary for you. I had to leave the house early for work. The only days I didn't go to work were CDS, when I fell sick, of course, public holidays. It was towards the end of service year I started taking permission for events that fell within work days. Majority of my NGO events were weekend. So calculating how I want to watch, when I want to spend time with God, how I want to spend time with family, when I want to go to the cinema, when I want to hang out with friends and other colleagues, and when I eventually want to devote time to this. If you look at my social media and you look at my life, you would actually think that I served in an NGO, but I didn't. I had a full-time PPA that paid me 5K for teaching three STEM related subjects to three senior classes. That's a lot of work. I had to design the entire curriculum for the school. The timetable of the school had to be based on what I wanted because I had to teach, I had to be there. But I learned this thing because initially I'm not someone that would be able to teach. So the way I structure the first part of my presentation or the way I explain things when I teach and when I give speeches is because I actually worked as a teacher with students. Before I became a teacher, I didn't have that in me. I'm not going to tell you I had it. No, I did not. So there are different things you would pick on the journey, but make the most out of it. Last thing I'm going to say is if there's a pattern in your life, pay attention to it and address it, positive or negative. I was happy on my POP day, but Satan was waiting for me. After queuing under the sun, after having to leave LGI to go to the state secretariat, when it was time for me to collect my certificate, it was not given to me. They told me I had disciplinary case. Satan did not create disciplinary case when I came. It's when I was going. And then by the time I was supposed to collect it, they'll tell me, oh, the case has been solved, but the person is currently in Yipata. Yipata to Ilorin is 3 hours drive. I should wait for another 21 days before I can collect my certificate and travel. It was a miracle that that woman came back and everything ended. So don't just say, oh, it was just in primary school at the end of something that it's always when I want to, like, you have near success syndrome, you just ignore it. Don't think Satan is not waiting. Begin to address those things from now, from as early or as basic as possible. So some additional resources for today, I would say how to stand out during NYSC video. It's about an hour long video, 42 minutes. Sit into it. Pre, during, post was properly and thoroughly explained in that video. If that's the only video you watch from my Honey Your Service Here playlist, you would gain significant value. If you're preparing to serve, you can look at the Honey NYSC play. Just sit down with it and learn. Some of the video qualities are not necessarily the best because of the situations they were shot in, but you will definitely hear the audio and get the value. So you hear preparing for a PPA. I brought someone, a friend that actually served in a rural community to tell us what it was like. So that whether you're in a rural community or you're in an urban community, you learn how to make the most out of that experience. If after NYSC you're considering applying for a graduate traineeship or getting into the job market using GT programs, you may want to look at my GT playlist. There's a video, I think it's also about an hour long, on my recruitment journey with Sahara. And as an additional resource, I highly recommend for GT training that you get the replay for this course. AC in GT programs is currently 2.5. So you can get this particular webinar. We spoke extensively on the application process, extensively on assessment, extensively on interviews, different areas. I touched a little bit on case study, but I didn't go deep into case study. And then I have ASIN business case study. That's a course that's coming up. I have shot it, but it's not out yet. So if you're someone that's every time you apply for a GT program, when you get to the case study area, when you come to the physical assessment, you do case study, you do interview, but you're not making it to the next stage, or you don't understand how case studies work. ASIN business case study would break it down for you. And of course, there are more courses to come. Maybe a combined course with ASIN GT program and business case study, just so that anybody going for a GT can just get the entire package. And if you check my LinkedIn, specifically under articles, specifically under newsletter, you would see specific resources. For instance, letter to my younger self edition 1, highly recommend. There's also letter to my younger self edition 2. It's a short article on LinkedIn. Unemployable is an article that I basically used to create the course for ASIN-GT program. But ASIN-GT program is more detailed than the unemployable article. I'll tell you that. So those are some resources that can help for now. So we'll do question and answer. Yes, we spent almost an hour. And then please feel free to connect on social media. Yeah, go ahead, Queen Esther. All right, thank you very much, Favor. So, first thing I'm going to say is you don't need to pull out from your group CDS, right? In NYS, there are four cardinal points. Community Development Service is a big cardinal point. And CDS can be divided into group CDS and personal CDS. You can have a group CDS going on and still have a personal CDS going on for you. That's why personal CDS is not compulsory. However, to have your personal CDS recognized, there's a process. So if you're in Ilorin South or you're in um, Ilorin East or you're in Barutin or you're in Kayama local government, you're most likely in Ilorin South anyway, from the way you sounded. So you have to go and meet your LGI and tell her, I want to have a personal CDS, or better still, meet your what's it called, the NYSC staff in charge of your CDS. And it's easy for you because most CDS in Ilorin South, they have them at that Ministry of Education. And the distance between the Ministry of Education and the NYSC Secretariat is something you can leg. So use your legs, go and see your faculty person and explain to them. They will tell you to submit a proposal of what you want to do. I am going to tell you something I learned from my experience. Sometimes you can dream too big. There's nothing really about dreaming too big, but you can dream too big about implementing a personal CDS that it makes it a failure. For instance, I had flashcards and I wanted to do something around climate, but I wanted it to be big and I wanted to put like a dustbin, and getting approvals for that was like, after I was like, no, let me build a toilet. And I spent my entire year applying for grants to build a toilet. By the time I eventually won the 1000 USD from the Nigeria Youth Future Fund, I won it basically 2 weeks to my POP. Even if I signed the contract, I was not going to get that money. And then the value, due to inflation, it had dropped. So if you really have a heart to do a personal CDS, I want you to know that you can do it, but sometimes you may not end up getting the recognition for it. And sometimes one other thing that would happen is you have to scale down. If you really want to do something and you want it to be in the books of books and be a national honoree for it, you have to scale down your project. A CDS can be as simple as you having a health talk in 3 schools, you having a health talk in 2 schools, and getting a sponsor for it. And then the sponsor can be your uncle that gives you 20K, because sponsorship money for CDS should not come from family generally. Your personal CDS can be that basic. Then as an organization, if you want to do something, you can go ahead and partner and collaborate. One other experience for me, I wanted to do a CDS to renovate a school. And then I put it out there, and a core member reached out to me to partner with me. It was somewhere in Ilorin, but it wasn't in Ilorin South. And this person literally works in the school I want to renovate, but she's telling me to spend almost 1,000 naira and take permission from my PPA to come to the school, to see the principal, to talk to the principal before we can even draft a simple budget. The project did not happen. I never went to the school. It was impossible. That collaboration cannot work. It's from the pit of hell. That's why I say, in terms of collaboration, people will tell you they want to do plenty things. I had a friend from OBS. When he saw the amazing things I was doing, he reached out. He was in the village. He was posted to a rural community. So he reached out and said, oh, I'm in a rural community, but I want to do something on this project. And then I'm like, okay, we start talking about it. Write letter. He's telling me to write letter for him. I'm not your consultant. You ain't going to pay me for writing letter. We're both graduates, but I should write letter for you. How? So these are conversations. I mean, it sounds like I'm joking about these things, but I'm going to be bloody real with you. You're going to have work, you're going to have other things. So, as an NGO, it's more like, what are you bringing to the table, and what do you want the other party to bring? I have gone for someone's personal CDS where I don't know where she got the money from. She did like a small book thing, and then it was about, menstrual hygiene, brought some schools together. I was invited to speak. It wasn't exactly, I hate events that are not properly planned out. Kunesta knows that one. Anyway, the event was not 100% planned out. I love you, boo. The event was not 100% planned out, but it was a success and the event went well. And I spoke. I was an invited guest at somebody's personal CDS. Was I going to get paid? No. How did I meet the person? In church. We went for a church program, and she's like, when she went home, she's like, there's one auntie I saw in church. She's in your CDS. I don't know her name, but she must come. She must speak to those girls. So when you go to people, meet people, sometimes as the thing is telling you to talk to somebody you don't want to talk, it's also telling the person to talk to you. You may meet your spouse there anyway. But that's just one part of it, right? But for an NGO or running an NGO, it's more like, what activities do you want to carry out while you are in Quara? Sometimes you have to restructure, you have to redefine your business model just because of where you are. I love climate. I know politics was somewhere in my blood, but I can tell you with the destiny that I have, I run away from anything politics. So when that NGO told me you're doing a, what's it called, leading a project on female participation in politics, I had to work with mummies, politicians, really people that were really influential and still are influential in Kwara State. The youngest the youngest member of the House of Assembly in Nigeria is from Kwara State, and she went through the program, Honorable Kayat. So, like, this planning, these things, having people to come, eventually going to the Kwara State House of Assembly, it was a lot of work, but it was out of my portfolio. And you know the funny thing, people are always watching. I was shocked last year when people started recommending me to apply for one Nelson Mandela thing for what's it called? For politics. I was like, you people rate me. You see me that worthy. You know when you see an application, you're like, you're not qualified. Somebody sends it to me like, someone sends it to you, you're like, it's a mistake. Another person sends it to you like in the shrine. Another person sends it to you, you're like, another person now mentions you on LinkedIn, you're like, my glory is shining. You know, you begin to feel motivated. You begin to think, okay, I can be in this room, I can be in this space. So that's it. What can you do differently? I would definitely reach out to you. I would introduce you to an organization. You can be in, this is the thing with young people. You can serve under the vision of another person and run your vision without destroying the vision of another person and still grow your vision. I love Susty Vibe. I love Leap Africa. I love the NGO I worked with in Kwara State, Brain Builders Youth Development Initiative, because the founders are not the only people in front. They push you out of your comfort zone and they put you in front. And if there's a need for you for them to recommend you for opportunities, they do. Why? Because the lifeblood of leadership is the ability to recreate, right? For these things you're doing, for another person to do them. Honoring your service here movement is a failure if people cannot go through this program and complete NYSC. Honoring your service here movement is a little bit successful if people go through the program and just come out as normal core members. Honoring your service here movement is slightly successful if people go through the program and are able to do something like Tolu and Queen Esther. Honoring your service here movement is most successful when people go through the program and can achieve more than both of us. That's literally what it is. So, you know, that ability to, yeah, they are volunteers. Yeah, you may not be paying them, but treat them with respect. Show up for them when you need to. At BBYDI, the CEO would always show up for your book launch. He would always show up for your event. If your phone gets stolen, he would reach out to the current ED and say, this person has worked for us. Can we contribute money to give this person to buy a new phone? He's always in your business. It's like, Tolu, you want to launch a product. I want to invest in your product. How much will I invest in your product? You give me return on investment in that. Like, these people are there. So you need to understand that part about community, right? So I feel like that's a very key part to answering Favor's question. In the comment section, Favor, please let me know if I've answered your question. So Ian also asked a similar question. I'm contemplating doing a personal CDS. I haven't written a proposal yet. My issue is funding and sponsorship. So the thing about it is, what exactly do you want to do? And then CDS, personal CDS are most effective, most impactful, easiest to accomplish when they require minimal funding. A personal CDS can literally be you saying, there's a problem in this community and I want to solve this problem. So I look for an NGO that is solving that problem and I write to the NGO and say, I am a core member. I want to solve this problem in my community, but on a smaller scale. So how can we collaborate together to do this project? I will be the project manager. I will be responsible for it. So let me tell you, when I went to do Kenny project for toilets, I spoke to the Iyaloja in the market. I went to look for her. She used to sit somewhere inside where they sell roasted catfish and roasted lizard and snake. That's where she sits down. There's this small snake that they used to roll like catfish, black. That's where she sits in the market. I know her and she knows me. And I went to meet her and I spoke to her and then we had a call. As we progressed in the project, by faith, I went to a plumbing site I said, how much is this 75-liter tank? They told me. I said, wow, money is good. Then I asked, I need a, what's it called? I need a plumber. The madam sent a plumber. Thank God he has motorcycle. And then they just started thinking about removing fuel subsidy. So he did not bill me. I just entered the motorcycle. We went to another store and then they listed everything for me. Over the months, as I kept writing proposal, I went. So now I did not implement that project. But if I have to implement a borehole project with a toilet, whether I'm implementing new borehole, I'm just connecting it, I know what it costs. And I know how many times the prices change. And I know what changed in the prices. And I know when they were being unreasonable. And I was speaking pidgin to them. And they asked me what is my name. And I said my name is Ada. My name is Ada now. I'm an Igbo girl. I'm from River State. Ade is the first daughter, the queen's daughter. So these conversations are important. I can have 7 models, or I think I have at least 3 different project proposals. But for this borehole, I have like maybe 5 versions of it. For the climate education project I eventually did with BBYDI, there's a project proposal for it, and it became easy. So when I eventually did my climate education project, I did not travel to Kwara State to do the project, but the project happened and it was a success. And the organization I volunteered with were the ones that implemented the project. That's the beautiful thing about relationship. Not just you trying to have a relationship, but when God also gives you that relationship. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an NGO in the state. You can collaborate with an NGO outside the state and then they answer you. I did not keep it here. If you go on LinkedIn, there's an article on climate education projects. If you open it, you would see that the first organization I wrote to regarding my borehole was Schneider Electric. And in less than a week, Schneider Electric responded to me because I told them to give me a solar pump. They told me at the moment they had currently run out of solar pumps, and obviously they don't want to go and buy from their competitors. You understand that kind of business. Second thing they told me was for monitoring and evaluation, the location of the project was going to be a constraint. So for that reason, they would not partner, but they were happy with what I wanted to do. I shot further. I applied to NCDMB, Nigerian Content Development Management Board in Bayelsa. Those people, they used me to play for 1 month. It was send email, follow up, new thread, old thread, new communication, old communication. In 2022, I had the highest number of rejections I had in my entire life. By yes, so thank you very much for adding that. It was definitely a lot of, back and forth with the communication and with the planning. Yeah, Favor is asking for collaboration. What's the best way to go about it? There is no one way. Please, I'm going to tell you, go and pray to God. Let God give you wisdom. Let God tell you who to write to. I had a mentor in mind that wanted me to stay in Lagos, and I didn't serve in Lagos. Before I came, I had won a grant from UNDP. I used part of that grant to do my flashcards. Sorry, my placard, the SDG cards that my CDS use it, but me, I no use am. Anyway, they okay. So I told her I wanted to do a climate education project, this mentor. And then she asked me and she said, are you giving them certificates? I said no. Because I was going to, talk to children, like go to school, talk to children about climate change and leave. And then she's like, are you giving them certificates? I said no. Then she asked me a question. She said, you're not giving them certificate. You give them certificate, let them pay for the certificates. And I looked in a school where students don't pay school fees. I taught in a private school. I taught 3 subjects. I've told you how much the pay was. Told you what classes I taught. First term, students will not pay school fees. By third term, when they don't pay third term school fees, you send them home. When you send them home, the parents will say they don't have money, children should stay at home. The owner of the school will tell the parents, oh yeah, I forget the school fees of first term and second term. Pay for only third term and pay for the WAEC fee. I should now do projects in that community and tell them to pay for certificates so that Thunder will fire me. When I said I was Indian, she said, okay. Oh." Can you imagine that relationship? We never spoke until NYSC ended. And he's like, wow, you can be successful in that place. So let's not do something together. It will always happen with different people that way. It's a painful thing, it's a painful experience, but it happens. So there's no one way, there's no one size fits all. Before Queen says what she wants to say. I met someone from the Leap Africa community. I met someone from Leap African community in 2019 when I went for SIPA for the first time as an inactor student. We got this invitation. I went there. I networked, and I collected this person's contact because I loved what they were doing. Finally, a few years down the line, I'm finally in Kwara State. I meet them at the first event I go for in Kwara State. And I sent him a message. I saw you at the event. You are a judge. You are amazing. Your organization is the biggest recycling organization in Kwara State. I want to do a project in schools, talk to them, implement a recycle bin, and your organization will get the plastic for free. I'm giving you more capital for your business. Do you know what he told me? He said, okay, good luck with your project. I don't think he read the message well. That was the end of the communication. I didn't go back. So if I'm lying, when you go to the LinkedIn article, you shall see Schneider. You shall see the number of rejections I got. You shall see when I Leap Africa eventually. Funny thing is, Leap Africa never even called me for an interview, miraculously. They call people for interviews for that grant. They didn't call me. I didn't hear from them at the beginning. I sent an email. I didn't hear in between. At the end, I just got an email that I got selected and I've collected grants. They sent me contracts, sent me to read through, all those things. And then project implementation started. I got in touch with them, sent them monthly reports, sent them final reports, and everything is closed. No amount was missing. We even spent a little bit more from personal funds on that project in Kwara State. So these things, it's more than you want to be a national honoree. I know it's nice to see people that are dancing and they are becoming ambassador. I was teaching mathematics. If two of my numbers have the same sign, add them and retain the sign. Plus plus is plus, minus is minus. It doesn't always, like, it's really not always about the award. I just need you to understand that. So if it's a word you're looking for, please go look for it somewhere else. Somewhere else. It would come eventually. Maybe not when you want it to come. Maybe not how you want it to come. It's really not. I joined Immerse Inner Circle during NYSC. I was reading books. I was a copper. I was teaching. And I still had time to show up. Even though once in a while, Coach Justin would be like, "Then I want to remind you for our meeting on Wednesday." I say, "Yes, Coach." If you want to make time for it, you would make time for it. If you're hungry for the right people, the right resources, those things would come. Yes, yes. They would come eventually. So any other question? Yes, Queen Esther, please. Sorry. I almost forgot. True. Thank you so much, Vanessa. So I'll be waiting for any other question, right? And one other thing I would say is, I think I think one of the beautiful things of serving in an unusual place, if you end up being posted there, is that it's God's way of opening that place up to you. I am a lot, I have way more access in Kwara State than I have in my state of origin. I have spent more time in Kwara State than I have in my state of origin. I have way more influence in Kwara State than I have in my state of origin. I have way more influence in the state I have lived in for 20 plus years. I have way more influence in Kwara State than I have in that state. So you need to understand when these doors are being opened up to you, and why they are opening up to you for, for long term stuff, for long run things. The people you've served with, the community you have built, the people you have met, regardless of how they treat you. I was never an executive in my CDS. There was dirty politics. The one day I decided to take permission from my president that I was going to travel, which was the only day I missed CDS because there was like an emergency. And it was within that travel that, when in your service here instruction came and all. That was the day they did election impromptu. Everybody was surprised. When I came back, people were texting me like, we know you're supposed to be the next president. Most of us like, it's not by force. Even in an actors, I wasn't president. It's really not about the title. I can be a cleaner. I can be a cleaner. And the next person that comes to be a cleaner is afraid to be a cleaner because of the way I will clean, because of the way I will handle that role. You will wonder if it's just being a cleaner. That's what I do with every role, right? It's a thing of excellence. So I'm sure that by the time you look at the GT's program, you would have way more questions because I went from doing social impact to actually working in a multinational and getting posted eventually to governance and sustainability in a multinational. Meanwhile, I have a background in STEM. I'm a physicist, proudly. Double. Industrial physics, applied geophysics. I did not study management or business science or NGO relation. No. It's physics I went to study in school. I know it's not showing, but I'm telling you. Yes. Okay, so I don't know, is this question directed at personal CDS or group CDS? Personal CDS. Okay, she's asking if there are specific things that we should be focused on. Yeah, so I think generally it's just the program management, just the project management and project documentation aspect of it, right? Because regardless of what you do, storytelling is a big part. What I would say about any CDS that you do is have a detailed proposal, have a budget, an actual budget, what you plan to spend, and have a budget of what you actually end up spending. Keep space for miscellaneous. Always ensure that your CDS makes it to a publication, a local publication, a national dailies as an editorial. And you yourself, if you can do a short documentary, go ahead, video documentary, go ahead. If you can do like an article writing, whatever, go ahead. I currently don't have short articles or reports on my CDS journey in Kwara State, but those will come on LinkedIn this year, or should I say by Q2, those will be on LinkedIn. So go ahead because storytelling is always a very big part. And then by the time it comes to applying for things, that's where you get to mainstream whatever you're doing, right? It's something I taught in the GT course. Regardless of whatever role you are applying for, You don't have to put everything. I have I'm by STEM, or should I say by degree, I am an engineer, I am a physicist. If I want to apply to a multinational, I can apply that way as a physicist because I am qualified and I am competent. I have experiences for those. If I also want to apply to an organization and tell them I am interested in NGO, then I have to tailor my CV for what I am applying for. So it's the same thing for application. If I see an application and then it's saying something around climate, I can decide to put my climate project. If I see another application and it says climate education, I can decide to put my climate education project. If I see an application for something and it says storytelling, I can decide to put my climate education project. If I see something about teaching styles, education, I can decide to put my climate education project. So it's like about reinventing yourself and the endless possibilities with it. Because if you can't see the BTS, then you cannot define the strategy of how to properly structure what you are doing and put it in those things. So just as a tip, since this has come up, I would say optimize your LinkedIn profile and everything you do, put it on LinkedIn. Voluntary, paid, unpaid, and have people write you recommendation. You work with a subordinate, you work with a boss, you work with colleague that is on your level, let them get you a recommendation because these things will speak eventually. And on days when you start an application and imposter syndrome pops up to you to pay you a visit, then you remember that I am competent, I have done these things, I am worthy of these things, I didn't steal, I didn't steal these accomplishments I am putting up for people to see. So I hope that answers your question, Coach Destiny. Thank you. Queen Esther, you can please close us. That's if I'm still there by the time you want to reach out. Mhm. Amen. 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 Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. All right, so before we go,